Hi friends, this is called The Friend Who Forgives. And it's a true story about how Peter failed and Jesus forgave. It's by Dan DeWitt and Catalina Echeverry. So let's read about this story. I love this story about Peter, one of Jesus' friends. It's such a nice story about how God always forgives us. Let's read it together. A long time ago, there was a man named Peter who was best friends with Jesus. Peter was a fisherman. He was strong and brave, but he often said the wrong thing. You see here, there's a pregnant woman, and there's a young little Peter as a boy saying, "Hey, you look like a whale." I think that's very funny. Do you ever talk before you think? That's what Peter did, again and again and again. Arr. Oh, I'm the best. Well, Peter loved fish. In fact, one day he and Jesus had fish for breakfast. Fish for breakfast? That's weird. But we'll save that part of the story until the end. On the day when Jesus first called Peter to follow him, can you guess what Peter was doing? That's right, he was fishing. There's Jesus there calling out to Peter. "Follow me, and I'll make you a fisher of men," Jesus told him. Can you imagine that? Peter fishing for men? But Jesus explained that just as Peter liked to search for fish, Jesus had come to search for people who needed forgiveness. Peter loved being friends with Jesus, and he saw Jesus do lots of amazing things. One time, Peter's mother-in-law was sick, and Jesus healed her. There she is there. Another time, Peter was about to drown in a storm, and Jesus saved him. Remember when Jesus walked on the water? And Peter did too for a little bit. Slowly, Peter realized that Jesus was more than a friend. He was God. He would never let Peter down. But sometimes Peter let Jesus down. Like the time Jesus explained to his friends that he had to die on the cross, but that he would come back to life to offer forgiveness. "All of you will run away. You're going to say that you're not my friends," Jesus said. Peter spoke up right away. He did that a lot. "I will never do that," Peter said. But Jesus told him, "Before the rooster crows in the morning, you will say 3 times that you're not my friend." "I would never do that. Jesus is my best friend," Peter thought. When soldiers came to take Jesus to the cross, Peter pulled out his sword to stop them. "Put your sword away, Peter," Jesus said. "My Father says that this must happen." Jesus let the soldiers take him to a courtyard to stand trial, and Peter followed from far away. There he is. See, there's Jesus. "Aren't you one of Jesus' friends?" a young girl asked as she opened a gate for Peter to enter the courtyard. What do you think Peter said? He was one of his best friends. "No, I don't know Jesus." It was a cold night, so Peter walked over to a fire where some people were warming themselves. "Aren't you one of Jesus' friends?" someone asked Peter. What do you think Peter said? I don't know, Jesus. And then someone else stepped forward and looked closely at Peter. Yes, you are one of Jesus' friends, aren't you? He said. And what do you think Peter said? No, I don't know Jesus. Right then, at that very moment, a rooster crowed. And Jesus turned around and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had said, "Before the rooster crows, you will say 3 times that you are not my friend." Peter was so sad. He knew he had failed Jesus again and again and again. He didn't just need to find other people who needed forgiving. He needed forgiving too. Peter felt terrible. He ran out of the courtyard and he cried and cried and cried. Peter had let his best friend down, and now it was too late because the soldiers had taken Jesus away to be killed. But Peter didn't stay sad because Jesus didn't stay dead. 3 days later was the first Easter Sunday when Jesus came back to life to offer people forgiveness. He is risen. The empty tomb here. But would he forgive Peter for failing so badly? Well, one day, after Jesus rose from the dead, Jesus was looking for Peter. Where do you think Jesus found him? That's right. Peter and his friends were fishing. Jesus called to them from the beach. Now, Peter still thought Jesus was dead. He was so excited to see him. Peter jumped out of the boat into the water and rushed to the beach to see Jesus. And this is where Jesus and Peter had fish for breakfast. Fish for breakfast? That's weird. Peter was so happy to see Jesus alive. But would Jesus forgive him? Peter wasn't sure. Maybe Jesus wouldn't want to talk to him. Maybe Jesus wouldn't want to be friends with him. But yes, Jesus did want to talk to Peter. And yes, Jesus did want to forgive Peter. Wow. And since Peter had said that he didn't know Jesus 3 times, Jesus gave Peter a chance to say 3 times, "I love you, Jesus." Look, they're having a hug. They're all so happy. And that's how Peter became a fisher of men, a forgiven fisher of men. Peter spent the rest of his life telling people about his friend Jesus. He told them that if they put their trust in Jesus, he would forgive them. Again and again and again. That's because Jesus was Peter's best friend. He forgave him again and again and again. And if you trust in Jesus, he will forgive you too, again and again and again. One of the best things I love about knowing Jesus is that at any moment, if I realise that I haven't been living God's way, that right in that moment I can ask God to forgive me, and he will straight away. Now, how do we know about the friend who forgives? The 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, all tell us about Peter's exciting friendship with Jesus. But then Jesus was arrested and Peter pretended 3 times that he didn't even know Jesus. That's in Luke chapter 22. Then Jesus was killed on the cross, and it seemed like the end of everything. But Jesus didn't stay dead. The last chapter in John's Gospel tells us that Jesus came to find Peter to forgive him. 3 times Jesus asked, "Do you love me?" And 3 times Peter answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." That's how Peter became a forgiven fisher of men. From then on, Peter told other people about Jesus and how they could be forgiven too, again and again and again. Peter even wrote part of the Bible for us so that we can hear him telling us about the friend who forgives too. That's the book of 1 Peter in the Bible. And this is another part of our Tales That Tell the Truth series. You can buy this book online at thegoodbookcompany.com.au. There's downloadable activities that you can access right now for free from their website, or you can buy an actual activity book that has even more, and they're really cheap. They're like $7. So, all right, I'm encouraged by that book. I hope that you are too. I'll see you later. Bye.